so last night your homework was page 153, and it was numbers 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to go over the answers to that right now. The first one I'm going to read out loud to you, and then we're going to go ahead and go over it. And then I'll assign you your chapter, so it shouldn't take that long for this lesson. The first one, Myra has a 17-foot roll of crepe paper to make 8 streamers to decorate for a party. How long will each streamer be if she cuts the roll into equal pieces? Okay, so we have Myra. So the first thing I remember I told you is to look at how long the crepe paper actually was, right? So we're going to start off with Myra had 17. Let me make sure you can see it. So the first thing is Myra had 17 feet, or a 17-foot roll of crepe paper. Okay, that is fact number 1. The second fact is, what size did she, or how many, not what size, excuse me. So what size is what we're looking for. How many streamers was she going to make out of this 17-foot roll? She was going to make 8 streamers. And our third thing that we needed to do is create a problem off of the information that we were given. So ideally you want the bigger number inside the house right now. So we're looking at 17 feet, right? We're trying to break up 17 feet into 8 streamers. So we're going to take 8 and we're going to divide it into 17. Now remember that before I get started, I need to take this number and list the multiples of 8, right? So I'm going to move this up just a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, and since I know my multiples of 8, I'm going to stop right there because I know when I get to 17, it's somewhere in between here. So if you notice, 17 lands right in the middle here, right? It's closer to 2 than it is to the 3 one though. And 3 goes over, so we're going to use 2 to divide into that. So 8 times 3, or 8 times 2, excuse me, I'm sorry. 8 times 2, trying to get used to these markers too, is going to be 16. So we divided, we're going to multiply, which was 8 times 2. Now we're going to subtract. 8 times 2 equaled 16, so subtract 16 from 17. 17 minus 16 is going to be 1, right? These two cancel each other out. Do we have anything left over to bring down? We don't. So our answer is 2 with a remainder of 1. Now let's go back to the question. The question asked us, how long will each streamer be if she cuts the roll into equal pieces? Well, if she cuts the roll into equal pieces, each one of these streamers are going to be 2, and with the remainder, we need to now use that, and we're still going to use it because she's using the entire roll of crepe paper. They didn't say they only wanted the whole pieces. They are okay with the fraction pieces. So on this one, we are going to put 1 over 8. Okay, that's a fraction we're using here. So she actually gets 2 1/8 per streamer. So every streamer is going to be 2 1/8 feet long. That should have been your answer. 2 1/8 feet long. Okay, now remember, because they didn't say leave the remainder out or without the fraction pieces or just whole numbers, that's the reason why we kept the entire amount. If they had said something like that, like what is the whole number amount, then we would have stayed with only 2. Now we're going to move on. So you can pause this if you need to take down the information. We're going to move on to number 5. And number 5 says, let me make sure that it's in there, right? Maybe. Juan has a piano recital next month. Last week he practiced for 8 hours in the morning and 7 hours in the afternoon. Each practice session is 2 hours long. How many full practice sessions did Juan complete? So we are looking at Juan practicing, right? And remember I told you this was a little bit of a chunked problem. So we had to pay attention to all the information they gave us and not just one piece. So the first sentence is kind of like, we don't really have to pay attention to that, right? Great that Juan is practicing for a recital, but it's not really a big concern of ours. So you can even cross that information out if that helps you. Last week, he practiced for 8 hours in the morning and 7 hours in the afternoon. Okay, so we want that information. So 8 hours in the morning, right? And this is AM for morning. And then 7 hours in the afternoon and PM, right? It didn't say for us anywhere in here to only find the number of hours he practiced in the morning. So we're going to combine the 2 hours. And that is going to equal, if you guessed it, it was 15 hours. So on our number 1 step, remember I told you, find the total amount of hours that he practiced in the week. Then the next step, it says each practice session is 2 hours long. So the next thing I told you to ask yourself is, how long is each practice session? Well, each practice session is 2 hours. Okay. Now it says how many full practice sessions? Full practice, full being the key word. So remember that when we're trying to solve this problem. Full. We don't want a remainder. So no on the remainder. Okay. How many full practice sessions did Juan complete? So you take 2 and you divide that into 15 hours, right? Every session is 2, and if we divide it into 15, well, let's see what it is. So we got to take this number and list the multiples first, right? If you know your 2 multiples by heart, then this part should be a breeze. If not, keep practicing, we'll get there. I'm going to stop at 8 because I know that that's going too far ahead. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 6, 8, 10. Oops. Oh, I missed 5 here. Sorry. My fault. 12, 14, and 16. Okay, and you'll notice that our number 15 falls right in between this set. Okay, so we are going to use the number 7. So 7's going to go up here. So now we divided. Remember our steps. Multiply 2 times 7. That's going to give us what? You said 14. You are right. Subtract 14. So 15 minus 14 is going to be 1. These 2 cancel out. So it's just 5 minus 4. Do we have anything left to bring down? We do not. So now our answer is 7 with a remainder of 1. Since we don't care about the 1, okay, because they said they wanted to know how many full practice sessions he did, all we're going to say is that he had 7 full practice sessions. That means during the week, he practiced 7 times for 2 hours. Okay, so that would have been your answer right there, is the 7. Your last problem was number 6. And remember, guys, pause this whenever you need to so that you can go back over your answers if you're confused, and then figure out where you messed up so that then next time when you have your homework tonight, you'll be able to kind of fix that. And we're going to take this, this week is all going to be word problems only because I want to make sure that you have this down. Once you get this down, then we'll go back over and we'll get ready to take our quiz soon. Okay. Number 6 said a total of 25 students sign up to be hosts on Parents' Night. Teams of 3 students greet parents. How many students cannot be on a team? So, first things first, how many students are there? Well, there are 25 students, right? Okay, the second thing they tell us is that every team has to have 3 students. Now you have to figure out what the question asks you, right? We can still set up the problem. You guys are probably already assuming that 3 is going to go into 25, but the question asks you not how many teams we make, but how many students are not on a team. So are we going to look at this whole number, or are we going to look at the remainder? Think about that. Okay, so once again, the question asks you, how many students were not on a team? So the amount of students that were not on a team are going to be told by our remainder. This number tells us how many teams were made. This number tells us how many students were not able to be put on a team. So let's find out. And if you got it wrong, no big deal. This is why we're practicing this. You can consider this as practice, guys, instead of just being in class and having to get right or wrong. I'm not with you, so I don't expect you to be able to do this. I don't expect mom to be able to do this all the time either, because it's been a while for all of us, and Misty had to reteach herself this math. This is a different math than what your parents and I had ever learned. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way up to 9, because I know that once I hit 9, I will stop. Okay, let me list these for you. So 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and 27. Okay, so my 25 number right here is going to fall right in between 24 and 27. So I'm going to use 8. So we have 3 goes into 8, or 3 goes into 25, excuse me, a total of 8 times, right? So we divided, right? We multiplied, which is what we're doing right now. What's 3 times 8? If you said 24, you are correct, okay? And then we're subtracting now. So 25 minus 24 is going to be 1. Is there anything else left to bring down? There is not. So my 1 is going to be my remainder. So how many students were not able to be put on a team? 1. If you got 1, great job. If not, let's keep practicing, okay? Okay, now your final assignment in this one, I was going to go into your homework pages, but I really want you to practice these word problems because it's very important that you understand how division works when it comes to word problems. You're great normally at addition math problems and multiplication, but you really got to get good at your division word problems. So we're going to look at numbers 7 through 11 on page 154. Okay, so we're going to turn our page and we're going to go to page 154. Let's make sure you guys can see that on my book. Maybe, maybe not. Let's cover this part up. Okay, and if you can't see it, you can follow along. We're going to start at number 7, which is right up here at the top. Okay, Teresa is making sock puppets, just like the one in the picture. So here's her sock puppet. If she has 53 buttons, how many puppets can she make? Well, when you're figuring this out tonight, think about a couple different things because you're going to have to come up with a couple things, okay? And I'm going to start kind of sending you out on your own today. And what I mean by that is that you're going to start trying to figure these problems out without me coaching you so much as to how to solve it. So I'm going to take a couple things away every time we do these. Teresa is making sock puppets, just like the one in the picture. So let's read that back over. Do we need that information? Yes and no, right? We want to know that she's making sock puppets, but we really don't care. It doesn't give us an answer, and it doesn't give us an amount. So she has 53 buttons. Okay, 53 is going to be something that you might want to keep a hold of, just in your head. How many puppets can she make? Well, first things first, think about how many buttons or not did she use on one puppet? So the first question for yourself that you need to ask yourself on this one, I'm going to scoot this over, is how many buttons did she use on one puppet? Okay, how many buttons did she use on one puppet? You got to look at the picture and count that up. Number 2, how many buttons does she have? Move this up just a little bit. Remember, pause it if you need to. And the third step is going to be make a problem. And the fourth step is going to be use your answer, and I'm not going to tell you how to use your answer this time. Use your answer. To answer the question. Okay, so here's where I am giving you a little bit of freedom here and liberty to see if you know how to use this information now. So I gave you the questions you need to ask yourself, right? The first thing you need to do is always look at the information they gave you. So the first two questions should always, or first two or three or however many you need, should be, what did they give you in the problem? Well, the first thing, how many buttons did she use on one puppet? Well, they gave you a picture, so you're going to have to use that picture and figure it out. The second question was, how many buttons does she have? They already told you that in there, so just look back at the problem. And then number 3 was, make a problem and solve it. They don't give you a problem, but you have enough information to make one. And then number 4 is, use your answer to answer the question. Well, I'm not going to tell you how to use the answer. You need to figure out what part of the problem. So if this is my problem and it's 4, it goes into 8. Let's try 9, sorry. 4 goes into 9. And my answer is 2 with a remainder of 1. You need to decide, and you need to start looking at the question and decide, what part of this answer do I use? Do I use the full answer? Do I use both this and need to put this over a fraction like this? So 2 and 1/4. Do I need to use only the remainder to answer the question? Or am I asked for only the full amount? So you're going to have to double check to see what the question asks and try it. You never know. You may surprise yourself on how you answer these. Okay, let's go to number 8. Number 8 says, write a question about Teresa and the sock puppets for which the answer is 3. Explain. I don't really want you to go that far yet, so we're going to skip number 8. So do not do number 8. And then number 9, we're going to skip as well. Okay, so those two problem-solving ones I don't want you to do. I just want you to focus on trying to break problems apart right now. Let's move on to number 10. Okay, so far your assignment is page 154, and you have number 7. We're skipping 8 and 9. Now we're going down to 10. Okay, on number 10, it says, a total of 56 students signed up to play in Flag Football League. If each team has 10 students, how many more students will need to sign up so all of the students can be on a team? Well, if you know your multiplication, you guys can probably figure this out just using multiplication. But I'm not asking you to use multiplication. You need to use division. So, first things first, how many students are there? That's the first question we ask. How many students are signed up? Okay. Second question is, how many students make a team? And the third question, you need to make a problem, just like we said in the last one, and solve. Now on number 4, use your answer to solve and answer the question. Now, once again, you're going to use your answer to solve and answer the question. So your question is, how many more students will need to sign up so that all of the students can be on a team? They're already telling you right there, we're not going to have enough with 56 signed up, right? Which is number 1, the answer. We aren't having enough to make full teams. To make enough full teams, right? We need to be able to use up all the players. So they want to know how many more students they need to convince to sign up for flag football to make a full team. Okay, that one last team, how many spots are left? So you need to decide, are you using this amount, this one, or the remainder amount? okay, when it comes to your problem. Then number 11, let's go into number 11, is going to be your final problem for tonight, okay? A teacher plans for groups of her students to eat at lunch tables. She has 34 students in her class. Each group will have 7 students. How many tables will she need? Explain how to use the quotient and remainder to answer the question. Okay, I don't want you to explain. I do want you to, however, to answer only the question, which is, how many tables will she need? Okay, so that's the main thing we're trying to answer. How many tables will she need? Well, figure out how many students she has. How many students does she have? Okay. How many students are in a group? So how many students does she have? How many students are in a group? And then your final 2 things are going to be make a problem and solve, and use that information to answer your question, which is, how many tables will she need? And remember, it doesn't say that we need full groups at each table. There might be some guys left over, and they're still going to need a table. That's a big hint for you guys on how to use this answer to answer your question, okay? All right, and if you need to go back over what I just said, just rewind it a little bit. But you need to make sure you're answering the question correctly, okay? And I'm taking off a lot of my responsibility on this one and really trusting you guys to use what I've taught you so far and try to figure out how to use the answers, whether it be the quotient, the remainder, or both, to answer your question. Okay, so tonight's assignment is going to be page 154, and it's going to be numbers 7, 10, and 11. Okay, only those 3. Remember, 8 and 9 you will not be doing. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and this is your assignment for tonight. After that, you are back on the weekend. Okay, have a good day.